In a time where global attention is shifting back to the African continent, its resources, its leadership, and its future, one voice continues to ring loud with clarity, conviction, and courage. Professor Plo Lumumba, a renowned legal mind, Pan-Africanist thinker, and intellectual patriot, Professor Lumumba is no stranger to bold declarations rooted in deep historical understanding. His recent public remarks focused on the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso and the broader trajectory of African freedom have ignited thoughtful debate across the continent. This is not about political drama or sensationalism. It is about ideas, the kind of ideas that shape generations. Professor Lumumba is calling Africa not to arms, not to anger, but to awareness, to unity, and to action rooted in love for the continent. Let us dive into the heart of his message and why now more than ever it demands our attention. Speaking with his characteristic blend of wisdom and passion, he recently addressed what he sees as a dangerous trend in Africa's political environment: the suppression of emerging leaders who speak openly for sovereignty, dignity, and homegrown development. His speech centered around the symbolism and strength of Captain Ibrahim Traore, the youthful, bold leader of Burkina Faso. But Lumumba's message went far beyond one man. He used this moment to reflect on Africa's recurring challenge. Why is it, he asked, that when an African leader begins to think differently, when he begins to place his people at the center of policy, trouble begins to follow?
Right now, you can see what they are trying to do to eliminate my good friend Ibrahim Traore. Survived many assassination attempts, because when you are doing good, they'll take you out. It is Samora Moises Machel who once said, when you hear the former colonizers saying you are good, you must pause and ask yourself, what evil are you committing against your people?
This was not said in bitterness. It was said in warning and in love. Lumumba believes deeply that Africa's hour has come, but only if Africans open their eyes and understand the patterns of the past. Professor Lumumba did not speak from a place of speculation or political alignment. His references to Captain Ibrahim Traore were grounded in admiration for the values he represents. Traore, who took office in 2022, has since become a symbol of youthful resolve across the continent. At only 34, he stands for something many young Africans have longed to see: a leader who speaks plainly, acts boldly, and puts his country first. Professor Lumumba highlighted the fact that Traore, like others before him, is trying to rewrite the African story from one of dependency to one of destiny. When young men rise not just to lead, but to serve, Lumumba said, we must protect them, not just with our votes, but with our voices. His message wasn't about politics, it was about vision, about the kind of leadership Africa needs now. Leaders not afraid to reevaluate old partnerships, prioritize self-sufficiency, and speak for those whose voices have long been silenced. Much of Professor Lumumba's power lies in his ability to connect history with the present. He reminded his listeners that this is not the first time Africa has seen bold leaders rise, and sadly, it is not the first time their journeys have been met with unexpected opposition, sometimes from within, sometimes from beyond the borders. He spoke softly but firmly about Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, whose dreams of African unity stirred hope across the continent. He reminded us of Thomas Sankara, the former president of Burkina Faso, who dreamed of self-reliance and national pride. Both were admired. Both were misunderstood. Both were eventually removed from power under mysterious and complex circumstances. Professor Lumumba's point was clear, but respectful. If we are to honor our past, we must learn from it, not repeat it. He was not accusing anyone. He was advising. He was saying that if Africans do not protect their visionaries, they will watch them disappear and wonder why change never lasts. Lumumba's words were not a condemnation of any nation, institution, or individual. He spoke rather of awareness. His repeated phrase, "Open your eyes, Africa," is not a warning, it is a wake-up call. He asked Africans to begin questioning, why are some of the most resource-rich countries still struggling with basic infrastructure? Why are African policies often shaped abroad before they are shaped at home? Why do leaders who speak about independence suddenly find themselves isolated, misrepresented, or in danger? These are not questions of blame, these are questions of responsibility, and that's what Lumumba is really demanding. One of the most misunderstood ideas in African discourse is the belief that Pan-Africanism is anti-foreign. Professor Lumumba made it clear, Pan-Africanism is not about hate, it is about balance. He stated it plainly, Africa does not seek enemies, Africa seeks equality. True friends support sovereignty, not silence. This is important. Lumumba is not calling for separation from the rest of the world. He is calling for mature partnerships, relationships based on mutual respect, fair trade, and shared prosperity. When Africa rises, he argued, the whole world benefits. But when Africa is held back by outdated systems, one-sided agreements, or subtle manipulation, everyone suffers. Perhaps the most powerful portion of Professor Lumumba's speech was addressed not to presidents, but to Africa's young people. At the continent where over 60% of the population is under 30, Lumumba emphasized that the battle for Africa's future will not be fought in parliament alone, it will be fought in the minds and hearts of the youth. You are not too young to think. You are not too poor to dream. You are not too weak to change things. He urged young Africans to study their history, read their constitutions, support honest leadership, and reject the culture of silence. Most importantly, he told them, Africa is not waiting for a savior. Africa is waiting for her sons and daughters to stop apologizing for being African, in keeping with values of respectful dialogue. It's important to note that Professor Lumumba's speech did not promote division or anger. Instead, it was filled with hope and high expectations. He spoke of the need to maintain relationships with global partners, but only on the basis of mutual dignity. He called for investment, collaboration, innovation, but on Africa's terms. In a world that is changing fast with new technology, new conflicts, and new alliances, Africa, he said, must not be left behind or led astray. Let us not be consumers of dreams built for us. Let us be the architects of the Africa we want. In closing, Professor Lumumba reminded his listeners that no empire lasts forever, and no nation remains in the shadows forever. The African sun is rising. And this time, it is rising from within. He emphasized that protecting visionary leaders like Captain Traore is not about idolizing individuals. It is about defending principles, truth, integrity, independence, and service. If Africa is to write a new chapter, it must begin with courage, not confrontation, with awareness, not accusations, with unity, not uniformity. Professor Lumumba's recent speech was not just another lecture, it was a mirror for African leaders, a mirror for African youth, a mirror for anyone who has ever wondered, why do our brightest lights sometimes flicker too soon? His message was firm but peaceful, passionate but lawful, bold but respectful. Let us remember it. Africa does not need saviors. It needs sons and daughters who are awake. Africa does not reject friends. It rejects manipulation. Africa does not seek conflict. It seeks self-confidence. So to the young student, the market woman, the journalist, the policymaker, the president, Africa is calling. Will you wake up? This is Africa Unfiltered, sharing ideas, shaping futures. Please like, share, and subscribe for more empowering African analyses that inform, uplift, and unite.